So I recently picked up an enamel coated steel cup from United Blue. Saw it on a discount at Sierra Trading Post. I happened to be there and it was on a crazy discount because these guys ain't cheap. And I said, you know what? I have never tried out, used, tested, and reviewed for my own personal pleasure and for yours, a steel cup that's been enamelly coated. And so what I've researched, it seems like United by Blue seems to have some really good aspects. So we're gonna break it all down for you. Now, having used it a bunch, I'm gonna tell you what I like about it, some of the positives, but then some major drawbacks to a steel cup like this, and then hopefully help you decide, is this something that you should invest in, or if it stick with your, wood, polymer, steel insulated, ceramic, whatever you're using, mugs, which one is best suited for you. So let's go ahead, take a look, have some fun with this thing. This says campfire approved, so we're gonna give it a shot, as well as stovetop, burner, and just general use, and show you what I like and dislike about it. So let us begin with the Pocket Rocket Deluxe from MSR, which is the element that I used, and that's one of the stoves that I'm currently testing, and I use MSR Pocket Rocket 2.0 and possibly this Deluxe in the future. So I wanted to see, would the enamel, would the steel hold up to that type of really intense flame, and not crack, not chip, not wear, have any sort of issues like that. And so what I found was that it absolutely was able to handle that. I did it multiple times on multiple outings into the backcountry, where we go to the Blade Boot Camp and do a bunch of other testing and things like that. I took this as my cup to boil the water in for my tea, and it worked fantastic. There was really no issues in the sense of how fast there was really no issues in the sense of how it was able to handle that type of heat. Now, you definitely want to have a pair of gloves. We're going to talk a little bit about this in a little bit, but removing that off of the element or any element, you're going to want a good pair of leather gloves to be able to handle the heat that will be produced around and on and by this mug. So if you were to use this on a regular basis over any sort of like backpacking or camp stove, I think it would absolutely be able to handle it, no problem. Now, seeing as this is rated for stovetop and campfire, I've also thrown this in a couple fires that we've done in the backyard, just doing fire pit, and I'm like, yep, I'll do tea or I'll do coffee. I'll throw it in there because of the dryness of the fall. I haven't been able to do any open burns out in the backcountry, otherwise that's how I would normally do it. And it also was able to hold up really well, and I was curious, how is the enamel gonna hold up to that flame and soot and those type of things? And you can see here, it actually cleaned up super easily and really well. I was actually very surprised. I just have a little bit of staining right there on that white lip, but the logo or the design has not been damaged in any sort of way, particularly the bottom. This is after 2 fire pits, and I didn't have to spend any sort of elbow grease cleaning it off. I mean, I literally threw it under the sink, rinsed it off super quick, and it was ready to rock and roll. There was really no tarry, sooty stuff. Part of it might have been the wood that I was using, but that's just something to recognize, that it might actually hold the designs, if you were to throw this in a fire on a regular basis, rather well, and it could boil the water, no problem. It held up to everything that a normal like steel cup that you may have in your survival kit or backpacking or outdoor system would be able to do. So we'll take a brief moment here just to give you a couple basic specs on the design and what goes into steel mugs that are enamel coated anyway, but particularly from United Blue. Now, these are double dipped in the enamel, and it's using heavy gauge steel that I guess has been oxidized or something like that. So they say that even if you get chips on the enamel and the steel is exposed, it won't cause any sort of problems for you. It's, I guess, a healthy steel. I don't know how else to describe it. It's been oxidized in such a way that it's fine. That you don't have to worry about, oh, I've chipped the enamel, now I can't use this anymore because blammo, I have chipped the enamel. There it is right there. I had this on the trunk of my car, so about maybe 3.5 feet off the ground. A gust of wind came, it was empty, and there was some like a piece of cardboard under it. Flew it right off, landed upside down, got some chips on there. I am seeing a little bit of rust right there. So again, I'm not concerned about it, but that's just something that you need to know. That's gonna happen with any enamel-based mug, so you have to decide is that something you want. It gives it character, gives it wear. They even say that on their site. They're like, hey, it's supposed to hold up a little bit longer than, you know, other enamel-coated, maybe cheaper designs, but the chips will eventually appear, but the exposed metal isn't a big deal. I'm seeing slight oxidation on it, like rust spots. But again, I'm not worried about it. It is dishwasher safe, so that's another big positive. A lot of these don't have that option. You know, you got to like hand wash them, and one of the rules in our house is that basically my wife is done hand washing stuff. She's like, if I can't throw it in the dishwasher, you're in charge of washing it. So it's kind of a rule in our house that we try not to buy stuff unless it's dishwasher safe. So that's another positive. Now it says it's been double dipped on the handle and on the lip where there's, you know, extra wear with your hand, obviously, and then where you're drinking. I don't know if that means that I'm assuming the body's been double dipped and then they double dip it again. So that's what I've got to guess is what they're talking about with that. And then this thing will hold 12 ounces. So your soda can, an adult beverage, you know, those type of things will go basically just below that white rim. They will fit in there, but I mean, it is like right there on it. Anything that's, you know, from a 12-ounce can or 12-ounce bottle, that's where it's going to go. So realistically, more like 10 ounces is more preferred unless you're willing to let it sit for a little while. And it's going to weigh in at 4.9 ounces according to my scale, so rather lightweight. So that's another positive. So that if you did want to, you know, have this kind of retro feel, you could take it with you. Now, this is the moment of truth that we're going to look at is not only stovetop cooking, but also what are now some of the drawbacks to this type of mug.
Oh man, I can like smell burnt rubber. I can smell burnt rubber off of this. So we're about at 3 minutes and it's definitely cooled down a lot more. I can at least touch it and lift it up, but I wouldn't want to hold it here. I still probably need another 30 seconds to a minute. It's too hot to hold that. Okay, we're at 6 minute mark. We're gonna give this a little shot here. I feel like I can definitely grip it well enough at this point. So that rim is still pretty hot. It's doable. I could do that. It's not so hot that it's starting to burn my throat. About 6 minutes. So I'd say about 6 minutes is about what you're going to need to get to be able to hold and drink out of this once you boiled water in it.
And the main issue is heat insulation for the user. That is the main and actually surprising issue that I seem to find with these steel mugs that have been enamel coated, is that even if I use it, you know, like a steel cup or mug or titanium mug that I might use, you know, on a camp stove or in the fire, yeah, you got to let them sit, and that's understandable, and I totally get that. But when I make a pot of coffee and then I pour it from my French press, which has been sitting for 4 minutes, so I pour boiling water into my French press and then I let it sit for 4 minutes in the French press, then depress the plunge and pour it in here, I literally cannot drink out of this for about another 3 minutes realistically, and if I cook with it, it takes about 6, because I mean, I'm talking even the handle. I basically have to try and grip it like this to even move it from place to place, or grip it, you know, right around the mouth very quickly and move it, because there is no insulation for you, the user, even with the handle. It just absorbs all the heat. I'll put my fingers in through here and I'll bump the side wall, and it's like almost burning hot from a French press like I just described after 4 minutes of sitting in the French press. So you really gotta like be willing to give it some time. It's a time-consuming item to drink anything hot out of, regardless if you're pouring it from something else into it or cooking with it on its own. And so that was a little bit of a surprise to me. It's not something that I expected, particularly just with the kind of design of the handle and things like that, that I was disappointed in. I'm just gonna be real with you. And something that ultimately, even though The idea is really cool. It's very, you know, retro, and in 1919 at your hunting cabin, it made total sense to have something like this that you throw on top of your wood burning stove, you know, while you're keeping your cabin warm before you go out hunting for the day or something like that. You can, you know, heat up the water, pour your tea or coffee and work through it, and, you know, do all that. I mean, it makes total sense. And there is a very cool factor to something like this enamel coated mug. But in today's world, my opinion is it's just not very practical, because it doesn't retain the liquid's heat either. The insulation is very poor because of the steel, and it escapes very quickly. And something like just a normal ceramic mug, cheapo, whatever, will do a better job of holding heat in on your coffee or tea longer. So if you want something that is, if you're looking at insulation, I mean, go with something, you know, like an insulated mug, a Yeti, a Hydro Flask, you know, I mean, name the company, whatever your favorite flavor is. But for about the same price, because the normal running rate is about $20 on that mug, they are on sale for $12, which is what I got. I want mine at, I think, again, I said at Sierra Trading Post. The United by Blue also has them right now at like clearance, that particular design, for $12. But normally the 12 ounces are $20, and I think that's about how much a Yeti like this would be. And though it's lightweight at 4.9 ounces, at like 3.5, I can get something like this GSI backpacker, infinity backpacker mug that's going to hold 2 cups worth, 16 ounces. It's got a lid, going to hold and retain the heat a lot better. It's lighter at like 3.5 ounces, and is just going to be an overall better package, and going to cost me only about $10. And then if you want something that you can actually cook with on stove elements in the fire or over a camp stove, well, then go with something like a titanium mug or a steel cup for $5, you know, from your local sporting goods store. Or I think GSI makes some for about $10. This one is a Toaks titanium. It's about $35 with a lid, you know, 24 ounces. I can carry my whole cook system in there. You know, it just makes more sense if I'm wanting the versatility and durability of being able to cook on multiple surfaces and use this to cook my and boil my water. Now, cool beverages, obviously, that's totally different, and it works fine for that. And there's definitely that cool, you know, retro feel for that, throwback to the last couple centuries, you know, if you will. So there's that level, and it functions perfectly in that way, and it does what it says it will do. You can throw it, in my opinion, on any sort of element in the fire, and it's going to be able to hold up very, very well. But honestly, in, you know, 1919, that makes a lot of sense. In 2019, does it? Aside from the retro cool factor, I don't really believe it does. So unless you just like it for the iconic feel of it, and maybe more as like a accent piece in your kitchen at your, you know, hunting lodge, it makes more sense just to go with one of the other options that I've, you know, described to you today and shown you today, in my opinion. So guys, that's what, you know, my 2 cents is. I want to hear your thoughts, though. I want to hear what you think of enamel coated steel mugs. Are they essential to you? Do they have a place in your heart? Or are you like me, and, you know, for $20 it just makes more sense to invest in other types of mugs to get your warm and cold beverages into your body and heat you up or cool you down, depending on what environment you're in. Look forward to hearing all your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Check us out on Instagram, Facebook, all the social media, throwing up stuff there all the time. Don't forget to hit that other video popping up if you want to watch more content. Subscribe if you're not a current subscriber. We're throwing up videos every single week. And always remember, stay equipped, stay prepared, and we'll see you out there.